Morning Contributors joins us now with what you need to know to stay safe. And the heat is one of those kind of sneaky things that you don't necessarily know what exactly is going on with your body at all times. So what is the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke? Because they're not interchangeable.
They really are not. And heat exhaustion really is due to dehydration
Okay.
and electrolyte imbalance. So the sodium and potassium, the salt in your body, but it's brought on by prolonged exposure to extreme temperatures, the sun. And so you have to be aware of what it is. And sometimes people can develop symptoms like nausea and headaches and dizziness and weakness and some panting. And those are signs that you're starting to develop some early heat exhaustion, weakness, and you should start to be aware, seek shady areas, start to hydrate, meaning water and sports drinks that are cool and with lots of electrolytes.
And then heat stroke, what is that? What are some symptoms to look for with
So
that?
heat stroke is the extreme version of heat exhaustion, and it really is a medical emergency. You can actually have loss of consciousness. Something to also think about is that the person can start to become confused or appear delirious. A great hint that it's time to seek medical emergency and medical help and call 911. And the other thing to notice is in a hot environment, is their skin actually hot but very dry, meaning they're not sweating and they're not sweating profusely, they're not clammy. You know, our sweat actually is a mechanism that cools the body. So they now are no longer able to sweat. Why? Because their body has lost its ability to regulate temperature, and so they are rapidly heating up.
I was going to ask you about that because I played tennis growing up, and I was in Texas, in Waco, Texas, over the summer, and I stopped sweating while I was playing, and that was, you know, something I'd never experienced before, but also didn't quite know exactly what was happening. But what should you do, I guess, aside from calling 911? Is there anything that, you know, if I'm out, let's say, with my husband, and I see that he's kind of getting a little bit of those symptoms that you just mentioned, what are some immediate things besides calling 911 that I can do?
Right. So heat exhaustion, heat stroke would be different. So if you suspect someone has heat exhaustion, you want to immediately get them into a cool, shady area and begin to hydrate. Water, cool sports drinks. But you can also lie them flat and elevate their legs such that there's more circulation coming to their heart. And then remember, cool cloths, damp cloths, ice packs to try to lower that body temperature. And really, if they're not better within 30 minutes, you need to call 911. With a heat stroke, you absolutely want to get them to a shady area, but you want to call 911 first and then get them into a shady area. And the big difference is if they're having some alteration in their level of consciousness, so their mental state, you do not want to offer them hydration.
Which is so backwards, you would think, automatically, right?
Absolutely, because you can choke and you've got other issues because they're not able to control their swallowing because they're not alert and awake. So you want to make certain that you cool them. Ice packs, if you have limited ice packs, you can't put them all over the body. The neck, the armpits, the groin are the key areas if you can pack them with ice there to try to quickly lower the body temperature.
What about the back of the knees? I heard about that too. Is that just
sometimes the back of the knees, but those core, we want to get to your core organs where we're protecting your organs up.
Makes sense. Okay, so who are some of the people that have the higher chance of being impacted by this? I'm assuming the elderly, but I mean anyone is susceptible, right?
That is such a great question. Certainly the elderly, because as you get older, you have a decreased ability to regulate your body temperature. Children, because children's bodies warm up pretty quickly and they have less of an ability to really communicate their discomfort. But also people with chronic medical conditions, heart, lung, kidney, even diabetes. You have to think they also can be at risk. And people who work outdoors, so construction workers, farmers, agricultural workers, but also think of people like coaches and lifeguards, people who are outdoors all of the time. And you also want to think about people who just maybe don't have access to cooling environments. They don't have air conditioners at home, or they don't have access to public areas where they can cool themselves. Be aware that those people are very vulnerable. And if you're a caretaker and a family giver, just have a family member, have your eye out and your antennas up for these particular vulnerable populations.
Yep, good advice there. All right, Dr. Morgan, as always, thanks for coming in
Thank
and breaking
you.
it all down for us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks.